Howdy coaches and students, welcome to Literature and Comprehension. Today I'll continue working in Unit 20, Help Yourself and Others. There are 3 lessons that will finish up Unit 20, Lessons 4, 5, and 6, and they are centered around the story, The Little Red Hen. You may choose to teach all 3 lessons in the same day, or you may break them up and teach them separately on separate days. I will teach each lesson separately, but you will need to decide what is best for your student. At this point, we're going to gather our materials. You will need your Language Arts lesson guide. I will start on lesson Literature and Comprehension, page 439, and I will also show you the lesson guide online if you choose to use the lesson guide online. You will also need the K-12 Read Aloud Treasury book, which is where our story, The Little Red Hen, will be located. So I'm going to pause now and give you a chance to gather all of your materials, and then we will start with lesson 4. Learning coaches, now that we have our materials ready, we'll get started with lesson 4. Lesson 4 is called Introduce the Little Red Hen. And there are some activities that we're going to do. We're going to have some get ready activities. We're going to have some read aloud activities, and we're going to have some check your reading activities. Okay, boys and girls, we're going to go back and we're going to review what a moral is. We've already read a story that had a moral. A moral is a lesson that a story teaches. You read the story, The Honest Woodsman, and that's also located in our K-12 Read Aloud Treasury book. So learning coaches, you may want to go back and review that story with them if it's been a while since you've read that story. A story, boys and girls, can be written to teach a lesson. The lesson that a story teaches is called a moral. And some well-known morals are 2 wrongs don't make a right, curiosity killed the cat, and waste not, want not. Let's think about the story that you read, The Honest Woodsman. Now, I'm going to give you a little summary of that story. A woodsman's old axe slides into the river. A river fairy dives into the river and brings back a silver axe and then a gold axe. Both times the woodsman says it's not his axe, even though the silver and gold axes are worth more than his. At the end of the story, the river fairy rewards the woodsman for his honesty by giving him the silver and gold axes as well as his old one. Now I want you to look at your learning coach. What was the lesson or the moral of this story in The Honest Woodsman? Do you remember what the lesson or the moral was in this story? Tell your learning coach. If you told your learning coach, always tell the truth or honesty is the best policy, you are correct. That was the moral of the story, The Honest Woodsman. And today we're going to be reading the story, The Little Red Hen. And I want you to listen carefully when your learning coach reads it, and I want you to try to figure out what lesson that the story is trying to teach you. But before we read the story, we're going to look at some words that you need to know in the story. So learning coaches, you're going to go over these words. The first word that your student may not know is the word grain. And students, this is the seed of a cereal plant such as wheat or rice. It's considered a grain. Then the word ground, which means in this story it's going to mean something that's crushed. Like you're going to ground up some grain, or you're going to crush some grain. And then the next word is mill. This is the place where wheat is turned into flour. It's a place called a mill. And then ripe, which means it's ready to be picked or cut down. Like if you went out to an apple orchard, you would only pick the apples that are ripe, which would be the ones that are ready to be picked and eaten. So learning coaches, these are the words that you need to go over with your student before you read The Little Red Hen. And then before we read the story, we're also going to do a book walk. So I'm going to show you what I mean by doing a book walk. We're going to look, pull up, you can get your Read Aloud Treasury book, and we're going to locate the table of contents. We're going to start our book walk and the table of contents, and we want to locate the story that we're going to be reading today, which is The Little Red Hen. So here is our table of contents, and we're going to look through the titles in this content, until we find our story. So we're kind of looking through, kind of keep looking through. And here we find over here the Little Red Hen, and it is on page 148. So students, you can turn to page 148 if you need your Learning Coach's help. Learning Coach, you can help them locate page 148, which is where our story is going to begin. So here is our story. Here is the title, The Little Red Hen. And Learning Coaches, at this point, you may want to look at the pictures in the story so that you can kind of talk about the pictures, and students, you can begin to think about what you think the story is going to be about. It's only 2 pages long. So let's look at the pictures. Talk about the pictures here. I see a hen right here holding some wheat. We have some animals down here. I see a cat, a pig, a dog, and a turkey. And then here I see the little red hen, and she has some hot bread, and I see her chicks, and I see all the animals out here looking in the window. Now, based on the fact that the story is called The Little Red Hen, and the fact that we've looked at all the pictures, I want you to make a guess or a prediction about what you think the story is going to be about, and I want you to tell your Learning Coach. Let's pause for a moment and give you a chance to do that. I want you to think about where you think this story takes place. And then I want you to think about this question as your Learning Coach is reading the story. Did anyone ever ask you to help with a chore or help do something? Maybe mom has asked you to clean the kitchen or make your bed. And did you do what she asked you to do? I want you to think about those questions as you listen to your Learning Coach read the story. Learning Coaches, I'm going to pause for a moment and give you a chance to read the story, The Little Red Hen, to your student. Your student needs to be sitting next to you so that they can see the pictures and the words while you read the story aloud. As you come to the new words that we talked about, grain and ground and mill and ripe, please point these out to your student. At this moment, I will pause and give you a chance to read the story. Now that you've had a chance to read the story to your student, Learning Coaches, I want you to ask your student to retell the story to you in their own words. This will help them to develop grammar, vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency skills. And then we're going to talk about, and I'm going to ask your students some questions about the story. So I'll give you a moment for you to ask them to retell the story to you. All right, students, I want to ask you some questions. And Learning Coaches, the questions are listed here in the Learning Guide, and the possible answers are listed in pink. All right, question number 1. What does each of the animals say when the little red hen asks who will help her plant the wheat? What does each one of the animals say? If you told your Learning Coach that the animals said, "I won't," you are correct. Next question. What does each of the animals say when the little red hen asks who will help her cut the wheat? Tell your Learning Coach the answer. If you said, "I won't," then you are correct. Next question. What does each of the animals say when the little red hen asks who will help her take the wheat to the mill? What do the animals say? Tell your Learning Coach. If you said, "I won't," that is correct. Next question. What does the little red hen say to the animals after they all say, "I won't"? What does the red hen say? If you told your Learning Coach that she said, "I will," then you're correct. What does each of the animals say when the little red hen asks who will help her eat the bread that she makes from the wheat? Think about your answer. She's asking who is going to help her eat the bread. If you told her that the answer is, I will, you're correct. That is what the animal said to the little red hen when she says, who's going to help me eat the bread? What does the little red hen say to the animals after they say they will help eat the bread? What does the little red hen say? Tell your learning coach. No, you won't. They didn't help her do anything else. They would not help her plant the wheat. They did not help her cut the wheat. They did not help her take wheat to the mill. But then when the bread was made and she says, who's going to help me eat it? All the animals at that point decided that they would help her eat the bread. But the little red hen says, no, you're not going to eat my bread. What do you think the moral or the lesson of this story is? Look at your learning coach and tell them, what do you think the moral of or the lesson of this story is? If you told your learning coach things like, if you don't help, you don't get to share, or friends should help friends, then you are correct. That is the moral of this story, that if you don't help, or you don't get to share in eating the bread, and that friends should help other friends with chores around the house. Students, we have finished lesson 1. Thank you, learning coaches and students, for watching this video. You can now mark lesson 4 complete, and then you can go to the monthly instructional calendar, your MIC, and we want you to fill out the attendance survey on there so that we will have a record of who is watching these videos. Have a great day, and thank you for watching this video.